The American ivory-billed woodpecker was never common. It made its home over such a large area that even the vast forests of North America could never contain more than a few hundred pairs. Like this acorn woodpecker, it lived high in the treetops, chipping away at bark and feeding on the grubs and insects in the rotting wood beneath. The swampy forests of the southeastern states of the USA were full of damp wood. That meant plenty of food for the ivory-bills. But even so, a breeding pair would claim a territory of up to 8 square kilometers. This restricted their numbers, even in the days when they could be found as far north as Illinois. It was the largest of all woodpeckers, as much as 50 centimeters in length, but also probably the most distinctive. James Audubon, the celebrated naturalist and artist, even called the ivory-bills the Van Dyck of birds, after the great Flemish painter. Its back was dramatically striped with black and white, and the male sported bright scarlet feathers on his head. Its call was unusual too, loud and high, and like a single blast from a tin trumpet. But most distinctive of all was its ivory-coloured beak, which was strong enough to bore a nest in a tree trunk, and nimble enough to peck at the tiny grubs. Even as far north as Canada, beyond the reach of the ivory-bills, the Native American Indians traded these beaks. Several animal skins was the price for a single beak, which would be used by the Indians in their most treasured jewelry. But it wasn't only the Native Americans who wanted to display the beauty of the bird. European naturalists also wanted specimens in their collections. On one occasion, a wounded ivory-bill was trapped by ornithologist Alexander Wilson. He locked it in his hotel room, and on returning, he found the bird had already pecked halfway through the wall, leaving plaster on the bed. It cried with despair when he caught it again. As exhibits, such strong and determined captives proved more convenient dead than alive. Numbers started to decline. The timber trade added to the woodpecker's troubles. Whole forests were felled, and the wastes became farmland. By 1885, the huge territories of the ivory-bills were shrinking fast. They couldn't feed and breed, hemmed in by land clearance, but they stayed put nevertheless, preferring to die in their own land instead of moving on in search of other forests. As the forests disappeared, the birds became an even rarer prize for the collector, and legal protection provided little security. These smaller, pileated woodpeckers, our most similar reminder of the ivory-bills, somehow proved better suited to the new conditions. In 1939, just 11 pairs of ivory-bills remained, and, inevitably, inbreeding further weakened these survivors. By this time, there was no turning back. In 1952, it was seen alive for the last time. The museums knew how rare the ivory-billed woodpeckers were, and so they wanted to preserve them for posterity. Posterity can now view them, but only as stuffed corpses behind glass.